Let's bring in Utah Senator Mike Lee. Senator, thank you so much for joining us on The Bottom Line. Really do appreciate it. You have a novel approach. It's based on the Constitution with the letters of marque and reprisal. Explain to us how you think the Constitution enables people to actually help solve this problem for America.
The Constitution in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 10 gives Congress the power to issue letters of marque and reprisal. Those are basically hall passes, if you will, issued by Congress that allows the person bearing it to engage in acts of piracy on the high seas with the understanding that any loot they're able to bring back, loot that not contraband, can be liquidated, sold, it could then result in a windfall, in a prize award of up to half the value of what they bring back into the United States. Look, these were used for centuries by sovereign nations, and they could be used again, particularly where, as here, we've got these organizations operating inside of our southern neighbor country, Mexico, and wreaking havoc not only on that country, but also on the United States. Privateers, as they're called. Private actors could go in and try to deprive them of some of their assets. Things like gold, cash, whatever else they might use as a transfer of value in a substitution of cash, any equipment that might be valuable. If they can bring it back into the United States, if they make it back, they can keep half of the proceeds from that. That's an approach that we ought to consider. It's an old approach, but for us it would be new because it hasn't happened in a long time.
So just to follow up on this, Senator, somebody like an Eric Prince and Blackwater could go after the Sinaloa cartel, seize those assets and bring it back to the United States, and they get to keep half the loot?
Yes, that is exactly right.
Wow.
They could go in there, they could do that, and Eric Prince and Blackwater, and there are many others out there, could do these things. This is an approach that would allow us to avoid putting any U.S. boots on the ground. The U.S. government doesn't have any liability with it. They just do this with the understanding that if they can make it back into the United States safely, then they get to keep half the proceeds.
Senator, moving on to this. Communist China's DeepSeek makes a marginal artificial intelligence breakthrough, and boom, it is back to the style of panic pelling and hysteria hustling that we saw from the Trump is Hitler crowd. In fact, the U.S. is in the best possible position to win the AI race because Trump and the Republicans are ready to power that future. Mr. Chair of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee, how can we as a nation power that future?
We've got to shut down the apparatus that has been used now for a few decades to slow down permitting. When people have to go to the federal government seeking a mother may I for everything that they do, and then you make it easier for anybody who might have any reason, financial or otherwise, to shut down a project, we give them an open door to delay that project by years, sometimes decades. We've got to fix the permitting process. We've got to reform NEPA, a law passed in the early 1970s. And we've got to get back to the practice of letting people in America do what they do best, which is work hard to provide for their families and make the world a better place. In recent years, this has benefited a handful of litigators, lawyers primarily, to the detriment of literally everyone else. And as you point out, we have no way of winning much or even competing healthily in the AI war if we can't first make sure that we have enough electric power generating capacity.
Well, as the new incoming chairman of the Energy Committee, I know you're going to make some things happen. I'm excited to see you take on that role, but you're also known for your position on the Judiciary Committee, and there are contentious hearings that are going to happen. Kash Patel, you know him, I know him. He is highly qualified. He is tenacious in what he does, but the Democrats are really going to take him on Thursday. Give us a preview, and what do you think people should know about Kash Patel and his prospects of being the new FBI director?
First of all, as you point out, Jason, this guy is eminently qualified. A former federal prosecutor, as somebody who's held prominent positions in the legislative branch and in the executive branch of the U.S. government. He's got a lot of experience inside the federal government, knows where the problem areas are, and is exactly what we need to go in and clean out the FBI. A once great institution that still has good people in it, But it's been plagued by this political weaponization that has taken place with the last administration. Kash Patel is exactly who we need. Now, there are people on the other side of the aisle, some of my Democratic colleagues, who will do everything they can to smear him, to denigrate him, to try to pretend that he's anything other than eminently qualified for this position. And we're ready for them. We're ready to make the case to the American people that we need Kash Patel in the FBI, and we need him now.
Senator, we're looking at the confirmed cabinet members. There are 6 there. And with the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget memo that was put out, which is just a pause in federal grants, loans, and other financial assistance programs, there has been a top-notch Democrat freakout led by Senator Chuck Schumer. And it's hard to name a time we've seen something like this over a memo. Do you expect them to, again, I think they're holding up Russ Vote's confirmation, but is this going to be yet another excuse for them to delay the confirmation process for all of these cabinet members? And what else could be the fallout from these left-wing nuts?
You know, I strongly suspect that that is exactly what they want to do. Again, that's what they've got in mind. We have to not let them do that. Because the whole reason why they don't want Russ Vote in there, it's similar to the reason why they don't want Kash Patel in his job. They know that reform is coming. They don't want to face the music on that reform. Reform is painful, especially if you believe that government spending is an unmitigated good, and the more you ratchet it up, the better off everyone is. That's what we're dealing with. The true outrage here should not be over that memo, should not be over that pause and the review that's taking place in its wake. The true outrage should be that other presidents haven't done this at the beginning of their administrations. There ought to be a pause where we look at where money is going to make sure that it's not being wasted, and that's what they're trying to do.
Well, Senator, I'm glad you're on top of it. I do. Personally, if I had it my way, there should be one Congress and one budget. Take 2 years to do that and do it as a zero-based budget and start from scratch and say, all right, let's justify your existence each and every time. That would go a long way. And your version of the balanced budget amendment is the best one we've seen. They also should look at that. Senator Lee, you've been generous with your time. Thanks,
yes,
and
sir.
Good luck with the hearings coming up. Appreciate it. Senator Mike Lee from Utah.
Thank you very much.
We hope to see you more often, Senator Lee. It was a true pleasure. Thank you, sir.